Africans United. Know Thyself, Black Power Radio, where we discuss solutions to issues affecting black communities locally, nationally, and globally. With hosts Brother Escents Divine and Brother Ausar Amen. Each and every Sunday, right here on Oak 93.5.
Peace to the elders, the ancestral giants. Peace to kings, queens, and royal families all over. And peace to you, brothers and sisters. You tune into Oak 93.5 FM, Africans United, Know Thyself, Black Power Radio. Today is very personable for me, being that it's dealing with the healing cycle through the power of love, the power that give and receive, to heal and harmonize, to transform what is I'm sorry, y'all. To transform what is barren into what blooms. Imagine love not as a quick passion, but as a spirited entity, an awake entity needing nourishment, casting change through our hearts and histories. Today, let us walk the path where imperfect hands search for wholeness, where partners, friends, and seekers together discover that love grows only where we choose to cultivate its soil. Where the journey from self to union is the truest revolution. This week, I realized that sometimes people mean more to you than you actually know, and when you don't want to disappoint them and let them down, you start noticing that more and more. And I'd like to send a special shout out to my friend, or more like a big brother, uncle, or maybe even a father figure, a mentor to me, the Honorable Brother Ausar, man.
Anakasar, a BB for Hodier, African liberation, black liberation, African power, black power, for every black man, woman, and child on the planet. We are the original people. I am the original man. I am a son of Africa. Peace to the listening audience, and thank you, Brother Escents. And also, I would like to give a shout out to my grandmaster teacher and my Jegna, Dr. Elijah Mickel. I call him Baba Akmos.
Yes. And entering now, courageous, my sister, Queen, Dr. Kimberly Muktarian.
Well, good morning, listening audience. I am delighted to hear the wisdom that will drop from the lips of our Baba, and I am excited that I know you will be immensely and truly blessed by the words that he speak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
The great theologian Howard Thurman said, it is good to have long moments in which to sort out many things that stir within us, to look at our desires and watch them, to look at our desires as they transition into our understanding of the world. He said that if there are two things you must know, where am I going and who will go with me? And if you get those things out of order, then you have lost the journey. I am much appreciative of not only the ancestors, but the person's presence for my present here today. And hopefully I will impart some information that maybe lead us to understanding the only thing that is worth knowing, ourselves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And as I stated earlier, that it can get a bit personable for me today, because I've been in the funk and some sort of depression over the last few weeks. So I'm enthused to be a sponge as I sit in this conversation today about ancient African wisdom, the power of love, inspired by the book Ancestral Voices Speaking Perfect Love. Loving is the Healing Cycle by Elijah Mickel. And as we just welcomed Baba Akmos, the author of the book I was just speaking about. So Baba, what inspired you to write this book?
A number of things, but it was spiritually inspired, ancestrally inspired. About 20 or so years ago, the words of imperfect came to me we are not perfect beings, folks would say. Folks is a colloquialism meaning everybody. Uh, Folks would say that we cannot be perfect. And if we came from the perfect, why are we not perfect unless it's a choice? So there is perfection within imperfection. So, what is the common denominator of the imperfect becoming perfect? And that to me, as the ancestor spoke to me, um, I believe, was love. I am not an expert on everyone's love. I am not even an expert on my own. I am merely someone lost in the wilderness, seeking a path to lead to understanding and loving. So the book's inspiration was, I believe, spiritually driven through our ancestors. For after all, we are spirit practicing to be humans. And it is our spirit that we must listen to. And that spirit reaches out to each and every one of us through our loving connections. What is it that deters our continual march toward freedom, liberty, and progress, but the belief that we are imperfect? And I submit today that within the imperfect exists the perfect. For the Creator would not have, through the Creator's imagination, I'm getting to points that I hopefully will get to at some point. We are created out of the Creator's imagination. The Creator would not imagine, in my humble opinion, anything that is imperfect. So we are perfect beings if we would but accept our perfection.
That's
Nice.
good.
Yeah, that was.
That's really
was.
deep.
So I'm gonna run down some key principles of love in ancient African wisdom real quick, then we'll get right back in about the book. So, action over words. Love is best shown through deeds and actions rather than empty words. Community and support. Love thrives within a support system of the community, which shares the responsibility for the well-being of its members. Ritual and reconciliation. Relationships require rituals to navigate conflict, encourage truth-telling, and achieve closure. Holistic acceptance. True love involves accepting a person entirely, including their imperfections. Inner and outer connections. Love is connected to spirituality and inner truth, with actions being a reflection of the heart's intentions. Um, can you explain how love is the foundation for African wisdom, and can you tell us about your new book, which you already have started upon?
Actually, the very concept of love is African. For if one would go to the etymological or the books that tell you what's old and what's new in a word, uh, there is no acceptance of the construct of love prior to around, I think, the 1500s, until you go to Kemet and you walk among on among the books and stone, and you walk on the grounds of the Holy Land, the original Holy Land, and then you understand what it means when they say Timeri, the beloved land. When one says, even the construct of love as Mary, which becomes Mary, Mary means love in it of itself. And the symbol for Mary is a plow, the opening of the earth to receive the seeds. So love is the opening of the earth, and from that springs eternal nourishment for us as human beings. So the construct of loving is an African construct being borrowed by somebody else and misused and abused. I don't know if that answers your question, but so in terms of the book itself, it is ancestral voices speaking perfect love. For the perfection, as I said earlier, comes from the Creator, and our ancestors, as well as us and our progeny, are the continuation of loving. We are, in fact, the personification of love if we would but accept it. Some of us choose isfit, that is the other path, the unloving path. For instance, we talk about being a Pan-Africanist. You can't be a Pan-Africanist if you don't love your people.
Right.
You can't be someone who wants the best for your community if you don't love your community. You cannot be someone who wants the best for your family if you don't love them. Because love demands all of the things that are required for one to meet its maximum potential. So I love you in words become actions. The thought of love warms my heart for those that I love and those that love me. Every day I see their pictures in my head and joy dances on my soul. So love comes from the connectiveness to all of us. So again, the book was designed to help us move toward our Pan-Africanist view, our collective community view. And over again, I talk about collective consciousness, and that is the way we reach it. Martin Luther King said, I know that love is ultimately the only answer to mankind's problems. And as African people who are the progenitors of life on this planet, we discovered love and tried to, well, we shared it with others, and they at times misunderstood what love was. Tell me who you loved and what did you learn? Who loved you and what did you teach?
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now you did mention marry. It means, and they had the plow symbol opening the soil. I think you might not use those words, but so and then the book. Now I haven't read it in full, but I did get through some, and I want to ask you because you had mentioned something about fertile ground. Say, what does it mean for love to be anchored in fertile ground?
The concept to me of love in fertile ground is that loving that you give is received into a fertile ground. If that ground is prepared to receive love, if you are properly prepared to give love to your perception of the recipient of that, you understand that loving is more than a one-way street, though it can be. I'm not saying that you can't love and not be loved in return, because sometimes we can love so well that those who refuse to love us learn that loving is a beautiful thing. And they may not love us, but they can love someone else. And the other thing is, what is the fertile ground for loving and leaving? Did you learn something from that love experience? Is it something that you now can share with someone else and make that person even happier because now you have some experience of loving and losing? See, loving isn't just keeping. Loving is also losing. Sometimes we have to lose in order to understand that we bring so much to the table. And we have to, as the seventh principle says, we have to learn to forgive ourselves in loving relationships. Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, I now know what I need to do better. I now need to develop my loving. I was not able to, even though I was given all the loving in the world, I was not able to receive it properly. And so next time, see, the thing about us, we've been given a next time. Every time we change, we've been given a next time. And hopefully the next time is a better time. And better is operationally defined. So what's the fertile ground? The fertile ground becomes the next time. And so you begin to plant what you have learned. What did you learn and what did you teach?
Right.
So
I got that. That's good. And it also said that and you might already answer this, but it said love must be nourished to survive. How do you recognize when love in your life needs care or balance?
well, Martin Luther King again said, "Love is not only pure joy and delight, but also great and deep heaviness of heart and sorrow." So sometimes we have to recognize that we did not recognize that we had the perfect in an imperfect situation. For there are ways to turn the imperfect into the perfect, but the perfect always exists because we are spirit and we are spiritually perfect, and we have to learn to love spiritually as well as physically. Sometimes it is my position, we get caught up in just physical love and think that we have achieved it. But if you cannot join spirit to spirit, spirit to community, spirit to nation, spirit to your Africanness,
Yes.
if you cannot see what cannot be seen, if you cannot understand what cannot be understood, if you don't know how to love intuitively, is this right for us? Is this right for me? Did I bring all that I have into the relationship? Now, sometimes we all have secrets, and I'm not saying that you have to tell all your secrets right away. And sometimes we don't tell the truth right away because we're afraid that we may lose. But you have to have faith in you and the other, whoever the other is, whether that be community or person. You have to trust, for there is no us without trust.
Yeah, growing together spiritually, that means a lot. That might be sometimes what they say, we growing in different directions
Yes.
because it just ain't connecting. I'm sorry, like I said, I was just trying to get some. I'm really digging personally, brother son, Dr. Kim, but y'all join right in. But
yes. A question that I have for Baba Atmos is, what is the key to us having that divine love for our brothers and sisters, for the Creator, for creation, for nature, just for the universe? What
That's
would you
good.
say is the key for us to basically acquire that type of love?
In my opinion, you begin with self-knowledge and self-love. Many times we get caught up in relationships, whether they're individual relationships or community relationships or national relationships, and we judge ourselves and say that we are limited. We have nothing to contribute. I would do, but they wouldn't accept this, or I would do, but last time I tried to do, I was rejected, or I was in a relationship, she didn't care about me, or he didn't care about me, and I don't. They said I was ugly, and they said that I was this and that, and we take that into our soul and our spirit, and fail to realize that we are wonderfully made and perfect,
Yes.
and that we have the ability to share that. And sometimes that loss isn't because it's a loss of relationship. Sometimes we have loss because the spirit has chosen to move on into, you know whether one calls it heaven or the join with the great spirit again. But remember, they left you with something, and that something hopefully will allow you in your next relationship to be just as happy as you were in this one. I know a lot of people want to reject the fact that I can be happy with somebody else, but I would submit to you that if I love you and I prepared you to love me, then you should love someone else because that's my gift to you. For loving is a gift. Loving, just think about a parent.
That's beautiful.
Parents love their children so much that they want them to go love someone else.
It's true. That's
It is
good.
absolutely. Go
That's
ahead,
real-
sister. Talk
no,
about it.
Listen, Baba Atmos, let me say that is a phenomenal statement because, I'm reflecting on my own life where my mom passed away at I was age 14. And so, what do you give a teenager at the age of 14 who is bombarded with all of this other pressure and all this trying to find out who you are and seeing your mother wither away. And though she could do nothing for me, what I noticed is that she's always loved me, but in her last moments, she was making sure she passed on what she could, and that's love and remembrance and education, and make sure you do these things. And so I find myself reciprocating that amongst my children. Not that I feel like I'm leaving to go anywhere, but just to know that you never know. So you try to give or deposit or transplant those qualities of what you have as a form of love to equip this person, not just to be selfish, because we all know that you reap what you sow, and if you sow selfishness, you get back selfishness, and you don't get a chance to expand your horizon if you're just an island unto yourself. So you make yourself available, you make yourself useful, you become a servant of the humanity. And that is how you become a catalyst of love. And I hear that when I hear you say that love is a gift and it should always be given. I think as we come across these upcoming holidays of capitalism that is always exploiting love on one day and thankfulness on another and giving on, and everybody's in debt by the time they're overweight when they're finished. But if we actually simplify and do and live a life of thanksgiving and a life of giving and a life of love, I believe that we'll be better as a society versus one that's welcoming exploitation. Yes, sir.
That's right. That's right.
If I may, brother, because I want to kind of touch on something that Baba Atmos had spoke on, which is perfect love.
Yes.
And understanding that in the foundational pillars of Maya, perfectibility is the first one, along with teachability, free will, divine image, and
Essentiality.
Essentiality of moral social practice. Right? So the first one is dealing with perfectibility, right? In many religions, they teach that, that we're born in sin, and there's also a lot of teaching about that no one is perfect. And that's why I really, love the title of the book, Ancestral Voices Speaking Perfect Love, because it's like I'll never forget growing up as a child, right, that you could not tell me that my family wasn't the perfect family for me.
Right.
Especially when my mother and my father was together and my brothers and sisters, right? So, and even, people be like, well, ain't nobody perfect. Well, I'm pretty sure that people have made 100 on a test score before, which was perfect, right? So, I just want to ask Baba, do you think that the teaching of we're born in sin and no one is perfect, do you think that that can hinder us from understanding exactly what perfect love is?
I do. I'm going to use something that Wade Nobles, the black psychologist, would say. And I would like to call forth the great and powerful, who is sometimes called Ptah, who is sometimes called Haru, who is sometimes called Escents, who is sometimes called Ausar, who is sometimes called Ra, who is sometimes called Sekhmet, who is sometimes called Amun, who is sometimes called Nut, who is sometimes called Ma'at, who is sometimes called Sister Kim, who is sometimes called Brother Escents, who is sometimes called Brother Ausar. This is the perfect within the imperfect.
Wow.
And I do think it is a hindrance to believe that to accomplish and to be perfect is restricted. There's only one perfect. Well, if there's only one perfect, where did you come from? Did you come from something imperfect?
That's
no,
right.
I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that the Creator was imperfect. Well, did the Creator create a broken vessel? No, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. What did you mean when you say that I cannot be perfect? Did you not understand that this vessel, this outer covering that you see, is not the perfection, but that spirit that dwells within
That's right.
is the perfect? And that spirit, namaste, my spirit speaks to your spirit. When I am in the room with you, I'm full with your spiritual presence, unless you choose not to share.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Now,
Right.
now
Well, Baba, I want to ask you as well, how far of a gulf, based off of that Afrocentric teaching, how do you think we got to a place where love is so exploited, or we are almost living in the reverse, that in order to get, you have to get. I mean, it's so distorted, and we would rather operate out of I guess, a system that almost abuses you in order for you to feel like you're relevant, or you almost have to die to even feel. Our young people in this trapped mindset that if you are not dying or almost dead, that you're not relevant. Tell us, how do you think we actually got so far away from, or gulfed out here?
There's a saying among people in, I guess, social media is the term now, that we are not monolithic. And my question when I hear that always is, why are we not monolithic? And the reason we don't have the same mindset is because we believe in the oppression promulgated by the oppressor. We have been taught to misuse, abuse, mistrust, and not see each and every one of us as relevant to the objective, the mission. We have been taught through our churches. We have been taught through our educational systems. We have been taught through our media systems to see some of us as our enemy. How can you love that which is against you? We have been taught to believe that only the enemy, the oppressor, is for us, because we are led down a path of omitting that we are spirit. Because to say you are spirit first is an African concept, because the concept of eternal life is African. And they want to say, just like everything else, you can barter for eternal life. You can pay for eternal life. Well, you don't have to pay for what you already got. You can't get what you ain't got, to use a phrase I've heard. So if we are eternal, we choose to be good to each other, not because of reward we get at some place. That's not why we're good to each other. The essentiality of moral social practice says the good that is done for those who need it.
That's right.
That's why we do good. I wasn't going to talk about this sister, but there's a sister that sits high and didn't look low when it came to the SNAPS program.
Okay.
She had an opportunity to say, feed them children.
Right.
Instead, she said, well, the law says, da-da-da-da-da. We don't care when we want a sandwich.
That's right. That's right.
So we have been taught through the law to ignore each other. We have been taught through many of the institutions that we believe in to see ourselves as separate and apart, as opposed to see ourselves as unified. Ubuntu, you are because I am. I am because you are. There is no existence on this planet without us. And if you would understand human behavior, you must go back many thousands of years. You must go back to the Zeptepi, the time before time, and look and see, well, how did we treat each other?
Right.
Why did we treat each other that way? Were we looking for a reward, or Ma'at says truth, justice, and righteousness? That is an essential component of loving, That is a balance in life. And I pass on the loving in me to the loving in you.
Right.
That's what we get. And so we've ended up with epigenetic trauma, because we have traumatized each other in a previous generation, and that trauma comes to our children and our
Yes.
children's children. I was talking this morning earlier, my son, we were having this discussion that how do you deal with this epigenetic trauma that has been passed on? The answer is love. If I provide a loving environment. So the enemy, whoever he or she may be, wherever they may be, but you know who you are. I don't call your name because I give you no power. So they have taught us not to love each other, but to disparage each other. That first you destroy the black woman, then you destroy the black family, which then destroys the black community, which then destroys the black nation. We have been taught to mistreat, I'm talking about men now, have been taught to mistreat our women, our mothers, our sisters, to do things to lead us away from them, to choose the enemy over them. And when they tell you you're doing that, you say, oh, you don't understand. You come from an old generation. Well, let me tell you, ancestral voices speaking wisdom, speaking perfect love should not be ignored. And if you have a choice, who would you rather be? Your parents or your enemy? Well, they're not my enemy. That's your perception. Well, as the great theologian and historian, I believe it was Richard Pryor, who said, you don't get old being no fool.
Right.
So the issue becomes, have you bothered to study who you are and whose you are?
That's
And
good.
have you bothered to be in touch with your spirit, or are you merely flesh, consuming flesh-like things? First, you must know who you are. Know thyself.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. And if you know yourself and you love yourself, then you can love others.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I forgot. What was your question?
Man.
I just get
Nah, that
sorry.
was-
I get carried away, you
Yeah,
know,
that- yeah, they
with
would-
this
they-
love thing. I love being in love, and I love loving, and I love talking about loving. And ain't nothing like love as the answer to our problems, whatever they are.
That's good.
Yeah,
Man,
they were too. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, and I really like that about know thyself, the knowledge of self, because you know the knowledge of self is the love of self, and understanding the knowledge of self is the knowledge of your brothers and sisters, and the love of your brothers and sisters. And I can definitely, you know, speak to, you know, the transformation that I had once I started studying, you know, about who we are as a people, studying our African culture, our African heritage, right? And it basically just, you know, it opened up everything for me. And it's like in our teachings, when you talk about the energy consciousness centers, or a lot of people say the chakras, it's the heart chakra that's the most important in order for us to raise our level of consciousness. We have to have that divine love where our heart opens up for not just personal love, but impersonal love.
Yeah.
Love for nature and everything. But I just think that the knowledge of self, it helps us to understand that not only are we spirit, but that we are perfect as well in the spirit. And I think, and that's why I asked Baba the question earlier about, you know, being born in sin with
Right.
those teachings and we're not perfect, how that can hinder us from understanding exactly what perfect love is and what the perfect spirit is.
Right. It gets very difficult when nothing around you is moving in that same direction that you're trying to go in, and so then you get to, you know, sometimes it's like a crossroads. So how you determine like when you like the spiritual growth connection compared with emotional, material, you know, the other side of it, in the with a partner.
There's a thing that I write about called spiritual energy transfer. That is a practice where you learn to connect with your significant other or significant others. That you set aside, and it's a physical practice, you set aside some time, though you may not be physically in the same space, to meditate upon one another, to communicate with one another. And at some point, you'll begin to hear that other's voice, because it is the desire of your spirit not to be confined by time or distance, which are both illusions. The only reality is spirit to spirit. And when you learn to love spirit to spirit, there is no distance. There is no time separation. There is the oneness, the unity of two into one. Um, I truly believe that you can be connected by practice. You can be connected by meditating together. You can be connected by a desire to be together, for your spirit has unlimited power. We have been taught that there is no power in the spirit. There's only power in the physical, what you can build, what you can count and measure. That is only one way of knowing. There's this thing called intuitive knowing. There's this thing called consubstantiation. We are of the same stuff. We are the same being. We have just been separated spiritually into these bodies to practice. And at some point, because the ancient Africans believed that the spirit was forever, that we would then become, I think it's called metempsychosis, that at some point we would come back into either another human body or into an animal's body. But because the spirit does not die, the spirit we know is energy, and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So if everything on this planet which has energy is that energy has been since the time before time, why not use that energy? Why not connect with that energy? Why allow those who wish you to be subservient to dictate how your spirit is used? And that spirit has to be loved, be loved and used in love. At least I believe that.
Yeah. I think love is a healer, is the key. Can you share with us the African-centered cycle of healing and African underpinning of love? I don't know if you...
Okay. Although the ancient Kemetic theologians would have worded it differently, as I interpret it, I would say that you can become netters after the weighing of the heart. That is an evaluation of your ability to love. So, therefore, how do we, as ancient African beings, remember, we have existed since the beginning of time. We are not new. Our bodies, our physical being is new, but our spirit has been here since the Creator gave us spirit. And so how do we then return to the Creator? We return as netters, or what Europeans would call gods. Somewhere I read in a book, and it said, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. And in another place it said, Jesus answered them, is it not written in your law? I have said that you are gods. That is a misunderstanding of what a netter is, but it is close enough for those who read the text. It is to say that you are not separate and apart from your creation. And if the great Creator created us out of his or her imagination, then we are her creation. And do we return to her? Or do we go where she sends us? Or do we believe that when we are finished, we are finished? Or do we believe that we go to some place to have milk and honey, especially when African people, many of us, are lactose intolerant? I'm just saying.
Baba, you had mentioned the weighing of the heart ceremony.
Yes, sir.
Where the feather of Maya, which represents truth, is weighed against your heart, which represents your actions, your deeds, your thoughts while you was here on the planet. Can you basically share with us the connection between love and Maya and the feather, the feather of truth?
Okay. So that feather is symbolic, and as the ab or the heart is also symbolic of whether or not you have lived a life of love. You know, some people say a good life. You live good is loving. So have you lived a life of love? Have you lived a life which provides the essence of caring for self and others? Or have you lived a selfish life, a hateful life? And so you go through the ceremony to determine whether you can become a netter or not, whether you can be transformed into this thing, and go to eat from the tree of life. And the book, the Per Imhuru, the book of coming forth by day and by night, it is described what happens to you after you go through this weighing of the heart ceremony, this judgment. And the judgment is based on whether or not you have followed the precepts of Ma'at. It's whether or not you have followed the 42 to the best of your ability. I think that many times what we look at and say it's impossible for even a physical heart, to weigh less than a feather. But it is more about symbolism. Is your heart light? And have you ever been in love and you know that your heart skips a beat every time you see her or every time you see him?
Right.
There you go. So skipping a beat or two. Skipping beats when you take care of your children.
Right.
Skipping beats when you take care of your community. Skipping beats.
Yes.
That's, you know, I'm talking about the loving heart. The loving heart that knows that we are spirit, and as spirit we are connected to other spirits. When I used to work with people, and some of these people were not considered, quote, good people, and so I had to learn to see spirit and not flesh.
Oh, that's
Right.
good.
That you are redeemable for whatever the society says, and that I am redeemable for whatever the society says. For I am not acting perfectly, though I am perfect. I didn't know I was perfect, so I acted like this stuff was real. You know, this flesh and blood stuff. Oh yeah, I want some of that. Give me some of that too. Oh yes, greedy. Yes, needy. Yes. But then you learn to love, and you're greedy for someone else, and you're needy for someone else,
That's good.
and you want others. As I say somewhere in the book, I can't remember where. When you truly love, you want others to love that person like you love that person.
That's true.
Yeah.
You want people, as a parent, to love your children like you love them. And as I said to my son, I forgave you before you were born. So you want people to forgive your children like that. We want to forgive our children like that. And
Sure.
those people who work in those systems, those unforgiving systems, there was a judge who cried because she had to sentence a police officer who had killed someone to jail. We want the judges to cry for our children. That's having a heart.
That's true.
We want the police officer to cry for our children.
Right.
That's right.
That's having a heart lighter than a feather.
Come on.
Because if you don't have a heart lighter than a feather and you reinforce the system of oppression, then I think there's something waiting for you on the other side of the scales.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. You done drew a line in the sand, and that's the best way that I can describe what was just said, because the expectation is now on humanity to reciprocate the love that you have described. Once you come to that level of realization of love, is what I'm hearing you say, is that it should have the same effect on the next person. It should be reciprocated. And like you said, those systems wouldn't continue to say, oh, we're broken, as an excuse, because they'll be looking for ways to heal. They'd be looking for ways to make right the wrong. They wouldn't make excuses as to why they couldn't, because the love would find a way.
That's right.
And, when you are in a position where you can, but you refuse, like what prime example is what we're dealing with now, where you have grown adult professionals willing to starve out their own people to solve another problem that is down the road, but your solution is that you're going to cut off food. Are we at war, or are we an enemy, or what are we here? And I think it's the foundations of everything I hear is love. And as we interject our decision making, that should be our benchmark.
That's right. And my aunt talks about reciprocity.
Yes. Come on.
I was just thinking the same thing. Yes.
See, the spirit.
Go
the
ahead
spirit
on.
speaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reciprocity.
Go ahead, brother. Talk about reciprocity.
Yes.
Yeah, reciprocity is very important when we're talking about Maya as far as give and take, and I think that, when we really experience that ancient African wisdom and the power of love, we understand that, our heart expands just as a mother heart expands every time she has a child. And I speak that because of what's going on in Africa, with the slaughtering of Africans in the Sudan and the Congo, right? And, when we really start to love, we understand that those aren't just numbers. When they talk about, the 150,000 Africans killed in the Sudan, those are spirits and those are souls that we are connected to.
That's right.
Right? And so, really, when we're talking about reciprocity, we're talking about give and take. And unfortunately, it's been used against us where the reciprocity is being used in a negative way. In the violence of, Africans on Africans. And everything basically that's taking place is being turned around because consciously we have gotten away from the ways of our ancestors, not only in the diaspora, but also on the continent, right? Where our ancestors spoke about perfect love and taught about perfect love and Tamari, the land of love. Love is the key for our liberation. Love is the key to our independence, and love is the key to our power. Unfortunately, our minds have been basically turned backwards because of a lot of factors, such as, religions that teach us that we are born into sin, and other religions that have us, worshiping, other ethnic groups instead of understanding our own. And once we start to understand the netters, as Baba was talking about, and we become a netter, and then that's when the reciprocity is going to really come back to us, and we're going to understand divine love and have divine love for all our brothers and sisters on the planet.
Can I say something
Yes.
too, brother? I know you'd asked me the question about born in sin, and I probably didn't, really address it as well as you would like, but in your grace, you didn't say anything. But I was thinking as you were talking, if we're born in sin, who defines the sin? And if we're born in sin, who defines the method to get out of sin? Is it I need to tithe, dare a man rob God? Or is it once I've transitioned, my family must light candles and make offerings, and then what happens to me? You see, if I give you the power to define that I am a sinful creature, then what happens?
You're fine.
What happens to your power once I am a sinful creature? What happens to my spirit? I mean, these are things that I was thinking of. Do I give you the power to make a decision that I am not well from the beginning? Are you going to be able to define me as a soul, a sin-sick soul? I think I heard that term somewhere
I've
before.
heard that too. I must. Yeah, that's a good question. It reminds me, brother Kevin, of when we talk about DEI, and I often say, well, you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. My question becomes, who am I included with? Who is the standard?
Right.
Who do I need to be included with to be accepted? To say that means you're establishing. When I say DEI, we're automatically saying that we're excluded and we're having to be join to something to be equal to. And last I checked, there is no one that is above us or beneath us because we're already, like you said, accepted. And that is a primary foundational truth that we have to accept if we're going to be spirit beings, because there is no one higher than us nor beneath us that we should be looking to be included or excluded with. That is a choice that we make upon ourselves, not so much your government should not be able to rightfully or wrongfully or legally do so in order to profit a non-profit, put that way.
That makes sense to me. If I love me, I don't need you to determine inclusiveness for me.
Right.
That's all right. That's
Yeah.
all right.
You might not want to be included in the land. You know,
Come on,
and
Brother
I think
Kevin.
that, you know, there's something
It's
that we
true.
really got to think about, because, you know, our oppressors and enemies, they just take for granted that we want to be integrated with them and become assimilated with them. And, you know, we've learned through history that, for one, we cannot trust them, right? But for some reason, you know, because of this culture and because of, you know, all of the institutions and all the systems, right, that they have in place that's based off of Eurocentric thought, they feel that they have us automatically where we want to be included into their madness, or we want to be like them. You know, but once we have the knowledge of self, we understand our power. Right, and as Baba, and that's why I really love this discussion, because the knowledge of self teaches us the knowledge of love and how we have to have that divine love, you know, for one another, nature, and creation. And one thing I want to ask Baba if he can help us out with, because he talked about, you know, basically the weighing of the heart ceremony, and when you go to the next realm, how you become a netta. And a lot of people say, like he has stated, God, right? And I want, if Baba, if you would kind of break down exactly what is a netta.
Well, the netta was the terminology that we use for the images of the Creator on earth, to understand Haru, who is sometimes related to Jesus. The idea of Ausar and Escents, you know, being the parents of Haru. And then one of the stories that they tell is about the battle between Set, who is the uncle of Haru and who was the murderer of his father. But the point is that they are symbols more than life beings, and they symbolize certain behaviors, like the symbol of Ma'at. Ma'at is seen as a woman kneeling with a feather on her head, that feather that you weigh the heart with, and her wings outstretched. I mean, when I'm in Kemet, you know, you see the first images of so-called angels. You know, I always wondered, you know, where the black angels were and where the women angels were, you know, because they always men. Sister, didn't you ever wonder what they did to the sisters?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
no sister angels. You know, you got Gabriel and Mickel and them other folk, but I'm looking for Lucy and
Shaquita.
yeah, Shaquita, whoever. So I knew those were myth stories, but the truth is, it's how to explain. We use stories to explain theoretical concepts without. You know that, for instance, the meta nature was the writing of what people call hieroglyphs, was the writing of the priests and the theologians. It was not written for just everybody. It was written, they were sacred symbols to transmit as in his book Stolen Legacy, George G.M. James says the mysteries, to translate these mysteries, and so the idea of going through the weighing of the heart ceremonies to determine whether or not your name would be written in the tree of life. On my last visit to Kemet last year, or the year before, I saw on the wall Tahuti writing on the tree of life the name of one of the Nessus or pharaohs.
Right.
You see, so this tree of life, that's thousands of years before Abraham. They have the tree of life. Thousands of years,
Right.
you see baptism there. Thousands of years, you see the circumcision there. And so when I read the Bible now, I understand its roots. I understand judgment seat.
Right.
You know, who is sitting on the judgment seat in the weighing of the heart ceremony?
Right.
It is Ausar.
Right.
Who keeps the notes? It is Tahuti. And when you look at that, if you've ever looked at that picture, you'll see everyone has their left foot forward.
Right.
That is the Nesu Amsu.
Right.
That is the stamping out evil,
Right.
except
Wow.
Tahuti.
Right. He's
Tahuti's feet are balanced because he is writing the judgment and he is not taken aside. So
Right.
so when you look at that picture, and I've asked about Tahuti and I just had to come to my own conclusion. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. He is writing
That's
writing
good.
on the tablet
That's good.
and not taking a position. Everyone else is trying to stamp out evil.
right.
That is the
Wow.
Nesu Amsu. But
That's
the
deep.
Amsu,
Right.
just one last thing. You done took me down this rabbit hole now.
Nah, we keep going, keep forward. Yeah,
The
keep going down
Amsu is the crucifix or the
Yeah.
cross.
Right.
Thousands of years before the Jesus story, there is the Amsu.
Right.
And you can see it in the temples or in the wall. The proof is there. So, and one part of the crucifixion story, they say they hung him on a tree. That was probably more accurate than the cross. And so now I see Christians running around with these crosses. I know they're Africans. They just don't know they are.
Right. Wow. Amsu. Wow. The cross.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. I was hoping he wouldn't keep going down that hole. I was really enjoying that. Yeah, maybe we can try to
Yeah,
lead him into another one.
I'm
'Cause I
taking
love-
notes.
yeah, 'cause I love when they
as
get
fast
there.
as my little mind can go. I tell you, it's good. It's liberating, to say the least. Because you can be so impacted daily with the wrong information, and taught to practice wrongfully. And I think that for me is most disturbing, because most of our actions are power generated or socially engineered by a whole adverse thinking that is imposed upon society and professionalized and given terms and theories and curricula and tell you that if you don't practice this way, you're not even successful. So they measure their success off of this distorted way of thinking. And that in itself is a form of distortion. It is a mental health illness to me, and certainly foreign to the human spirit, to the spirit of who we are as beings in the earth. And so anything that's foreign should be dispelled. Your body, your soul would assume to reject it. But look how comfortable and we've become so docile, or even accepting assimilation, Brother Kevin says, to this perverted way of life and thinking. And it becomes, instead of love, it becomes selfishness and get mine. And you hear it in the music. And I'm going to get mine if you don't get yours. And, I'm going to rob. I'm going to say everything is survival, which is more beast-like than it is human, because survival don't think. It just reacts. It just responds. It's not carefully thought about or even considered. You don't use those words. In love, you consider the next person. And here it's just all about me. So this is, a powerful teaching in which we have to go back. And it's sort of funny with all this spirituality in this Christian country, you would think by now we would have be moving towards the mark of love. Only to find that we use these terms Christianity as a convenience to ward off anybody really looking up under the bed and seeing how dirty. So you just throw up the sign Christian, and then everything is supposed to be just like we give you a clean bill of sale so you can start back again. And I think that in itself is, disturbing, that we have used spirituality not to obtain what we're supposed to obtain and become. I won't say, but to become, or be manifesting who we really are. But we use it as a scapegoat to get away with murder, to get away with theft, to get away. We say one thing, but the actions of this country and its people display something totally different. And, thank you for these realities.
Can I say just one thing? When I first went to the Holy Land and walked amongst the pyramids, the mirrors, and saw the Meta Nature on the walls, I understood, and I found love. And I also understood that one has an obligation, because the ancestral voices were speaking, to bring forth in whatever way you can that information that this is not the world that we live in. We have only been under this oppression for a few years, because if we understand the Zeptepi, if we understand that for thousands of years the world was different and we were not oppressed, nor did we oppress, until the Hyksos came, and they stayed about 200 years, and they were evicted by almost Neb Petty-Ra the first, and he said, never, never again, which somebody else stole, who shall remain nameless as well. But so that may have been something that was falsely called an Exodus. One never knows, because when you read the text, you go back and you read the original text, you say, oh, I saw Khnum at the potter's wheel.
That's right.
And this is thousands of years before. Oh, I see. I see Haru being born on the 25th of December. I see, nada. So I see, now I see. And so the question is, what do you do with the knowledge? Do you listen to the ancestors, or do you try to give some information about ancestral voices speaking to you, whether you're in the Holy Land or whether you're in the Netherlands? What kind of land is this? the different land. The land of oppression. And I'm saying for thousands of years we were not oppressed. So this is but a blip. And so what we teach today, we teach for the time we are no longer oppressed. Our ancestors in this oppressive environment had a vision of our liberation, and so they were monolithic. And now we're being taught, as I said earlier, that we don't think alike. Well, why don't we think alike? Because we are miseducated and misled and unloved by those who would oppress us, because you cannot love and have children hungry. You cannot love and have your prisons filled with people. You cannot love and mistreat everyone who walks on the planet who doesn't have your resource. You cannot love and be a capitalist. So every time I hear the brothers talk about I'm a capitalist, I say that's a prima facie evidence of unloving. You know. So I didn't mean to interrupt your sister.
And I was listening to
that was good.
Yeah, I'm listening to y'all, like when you were speaking on the correlations of the African traditional, or the meta-netters, and with the Bible stories, we'll say. But then with they they'll tell us that you tell them the correlations, but they'll tell us that what we got or our old the African traditional, they'll tell us that that's nothing, that's not good, not to follow that. Knowledge of self is not good for us. In other words, come to this Christian religion. And then when they teach that, they teach it in reverse of love, because they want you to be God-fearing. First of all, they say God-fearing instead of, God-loving. They tell you that
That's so good.
yeah, you born in sin.
You better wait a minute. Go ahead. Go hurry up.
No,
Brother
jump right in, because this is what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get
hurry up.
Yeah, I'm trying to get on.
Listen, the queen has spoken, but I'm messing with you.
Nah,
But let
the
me
queen.
say this: I lived a life of oppression. I don't have any kind words to say about this, but I grew up under that quote-unquote religion where I lived to please, and I was never enough. So I remember having to go to the altar almost every time they call. If they all called it, after a while, I started calling it myself. The whole spiritual, the pastors, he would just be looking like, I guess she ain't waiting till I call. No, because, I was always trying to make God happy, because I always felt like he was some authoritative,
Right.
badgering acts that said that we could never. So I took all y'all time up, repenting for stuff I hadn't even done yet. I was wrong before I was wrong.
Right.
And I dreaded having to serve a God. I wanted to love God. I wanted God to love me, but it was more performative, and I couldn't perform enough. I couldn't do enough. I couldn't be enough. And I remember feeling like, how about this, God? I'm gonna just go be as bad as I can and get it all out. Well, hopefully by the time I get it out, I'll be back in time, and then hopefully you'll accept me. And it wasn't until I moved away from this whole aura of things that I was introduced. Let me say where I was introduced.
Yeah.
I actually was introduced from another angle, whereby, don't laugh, I went into a setting where white people had on the strangest attire, doing the strangest things, and they were just as happy with themselves. And I remember walking in, and I probably had my stockings on right, my purse to match, slip, you name it. I did the checkoff list, and I knew I was holy, quote unquote holy. I walked in, and these people had on jeans and sneakers and laying all on the floor. You know how they do at the airport. They don't care where they sleep at. And I sort of, I don't want to say envy. I sort of marvel / envy. Like, how do you feel that comfortable being that? I hope I'm getting my point across. That we are so, they've taught us how that you're never enough. And so
Sound
you
like the government.
sound like the government, right? Instead of us just learning how to love, I guess I'm going back to that false sense of inclusion. So when I hear Baba Atmos talk about the power of perfect love, one of the things in Scripture it says that it casts out all fear. Reciprocate anything. Love is just a fluid entity.
Yeah.
And I promise you, I got it. Still learning, still growing, of course, but the foundation of that truth is now settled, and that to me, I Radio Land, I give you this. I give you this as a gift. Please understand that the Creator did make you perfect, and there is nothing else that you can do about it. You didn't make yourself, and it won't be you who will take yourself out. It's already written. So go ahead on and just love.
Right. It's a process to get into that. To get in there, but Exactly. You got the ability to get there because in the Moorish Holy Quran, which was inspired by the Aquarian Gospels, they speak on said Jesus was sent here as a symbol of love, and he was showing us the way and the path to love. And what he did say is, "What I am, you can be, or you shall be." But in the in the Bible, they still tell you that you can't get to that status, that he's gonna always be, if not 10 levels, 100 levels, at least one level above where we could get to. And I'm thinking that's not the truth to that. But
So what you say, Baba, is more of a reality that you live it, and as you mature in your growth, you just manifest who you already are, versus trying to obtain. Help us here.
I think that the essential component of loving is self-knowledge and understanding that you are spirit. Because physically, if and most of us, I think, physically love in the very beginning before we understand anything. We just want to be with someone physically, whatever that means. And then we begin to understand who we are and whose we are. And then we reach a higher level of commitment, not only to ourselves, but to others. We begin to take care of ourselves. We begin to take care of others. We
Yes.
begin to see the joy in the giving without expecting anything in return. In the early days, I'm with you because da da da, I can get da da da, or I'm da 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 is not a word. I'm
I mean, we
it
we
made
fill it in
sense
the
though,
blank,
right? It made
yes,
sense, yeah.
yes. So it's about more about selfishness than anything else. And then with men, and I love being a man, so don't misunderstand this. We are late coming to emotional maturity.
Yeah.
There are exceptions. And so, with the lack of emotional maturity, we are about getting rather than giving. We're about thinking of ourselves first. It doesn't mean we can't take care of somebody else. It means we take care of them after we take care of us.
Yeah.
And I love the sisters because of their patience. They understand that they have a broken physical vessel, that needs some work, and sometimes you get an exception, but let's just say that until we get to the point where we understand that the gift of love is a spiritual gift and that it was given by the ancestors, and that we, as we become ancestors, pass it on to our progeny, to our children, to our grandchildren,
good.
to others. We have a responsibility to teach loving to the young. And young is anybody that's younger than us. And if we don't take that responsibility, what is our purpose? My purpose on this planet is to say that love is the answer to your oppression. Loving yourself is the first step. And if I love me, then I can love you. Like, I love the black church. Now let me say that, in all of its misunderstandings of the world, I love the black church because that's where black people are.
Okay.
Right.
And whether they believe what I believe or not, I sit there and I marvel, especially at the elders, how they have endured for me and how they have endured so that I would be. Because I think some of the things that historically you read, I ain't doing that. I'm giving up. I can't take care of them children. No, I'm running away. They endured for us. They are the best of us. And when I visit my African brothers and sisters, sometimes I want to say to them, they took the best and left the rest. But I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that to them because, folk always want to be special, and they are special. But the bottom line is that once we understand spiritual love, we understand our ancestors. Once we understand spiritual love, we understand our children and our children's children and those who are yet to be born, because it is an unbroken line of love if we would but embrace it. I thank the great Mother God that was willing to allow me to exist on this plane for a while. And what my next adventure will be, I don't know. But this one has been a ride. I want you to know. And I've made lots of mistakes and tried to correct them in the here and now, because all I can do is what I can do now. And so what do you say? Where do you go from here? You love. Choose who you love. But first, love yourself.
First, love yourself.
Because if you don't love yourself, you don't express love to anybody else. And we got some unloving people in this community,
Society.
in this society, in this country. We got some country unloving people. And because they don't understand that they are also spirit, because our pink African brothers and sisters have denied that existence, along with some of our skin folk who chose not to be our kinfolk. They don't know that that spirit, when they stand where? Before the judgment of Ma'at. When that feather is weighed, and if you have a heavy heart, then you can't. Anyway, I'm just saying that if we understand our connectivity, I am connected to you as you are connected to you, as you are connected to you, and we are all connected together. That's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Just return back to the book a little bit. Can you share with us the 10 virtues of loving? And you probably have throughout the whole conversation.
Yes. I'm running out of space here in my notes.
Well, if we begin, I mean, Brother Ausar is the expert on the 10 virtues, but let's begin with control of thought and its relationship to action. So if we learn to get rid of what might tritely be called stinking thinking, if we begin to think of us as powerful beings, if we begin to think thoughts that will connect us rather than disconnect us, that's loving. If we begin to think of another before we think of ourselves, that's emotional maturity. So thinking is the beginning of the process. If we begin to think of ourselves as worthy, I am worthy to be with you, and you are worthy to be with me.
That's good.
We are worthy to be together, and it doesn't matter what someone else thinks or says about that. We are a worthy people.
That's
we
right.
are a worthy nation.
on.
Begin to think those thoughts instead of, oh, you criminal, oh, you poor teenager, I'm afraid of you, da-da-da-da-da. We have to begin to think that we are a value added to life. Let me say that once again. We are a value added to life. And that's controlling your thoughts about yourself as opposed to allowing someone else to say how much you are not worth. I mean, sometimes on social media, I see this thing about beta men and alpha women or something. I get confused by that foolishness. I mean, the other thing I see when you say control your thinking that leads to actions, how are you going to act on those thoughts? If you are of value, are you not going to do things of value?
Okay.
Are you not, you're not running around knocking people in the head if black people are of value to you. Right. You're not running around stealing from your neighbor if your neighbors are of value to you.
That's right.
If you're a police officer, you don't misuse the law to abuse your neighbors.
Come on.
I mean, you don't. If you're a judge, you don't not cry when you have to sentence a young person to whatever.
That's right.
You figure out another way. Like, for instance, they did with the Veterans Court. They tried to figure out another way for us so that we didn't have to deal with regular folk, whatever that means. I mean, there are things.
Because I don't get that one either, but go ahead.
Yeah. There is a need to understand that this thinking leads to actions, and these actions lead to unification. For instance, when I talk about I like the black church, that's the only lasting organization regardless of what you say in our community. The question is that organization needs to be transformed sometimes.
Yes.
Some of them are really, really good. It's like some of them got African in their name and forget they're Africans.
It's
You
true.
know, I ain't talking about nobody,
No,
you
it's
know,
the truth.
because I don't know anybody, you know, but I'm just saying.
I don't believe that.
I'm just saying, the point is this. If we began to talk about the virtues we began to talk about in terms of thinking and acting, so your thoughts control your actions, and your thought of being responsible for your action then leads you on. So identify with the spirit.
Okay.
You know, can you love spiritually? Can you love when you're separate and apart from someone? Or do you use that occasion to do something you shouldn't do? Well, you ain't here, so I need side. What? You talk, excuse the expression, like a new fool. You know, you can't tell me if you're, I'm sorry, if you're spiritual in your relationship, that being separate physically and apart is prima facie evidence that you don't love me. Listen,
good.
having a spiritual life is you stop counting and measuring touches and holes. You begin to see each other for who you are. And loving spiritually is a beautiful thing. And if you haven't tried it, try it for a moment and see what happens.
Right.
You come back and tell me how you feel about it.
Well, you know what? I hear you also say, Baba, Amos, that love is not always touchy-feely.
Exactly.
Is much deeper because it's spiritual and it doesn't require touch or feelings to operate. It's a form of a principle. It is almost your whole being, more so than you only act because that's who you are, not who you're trying to become, more so than anything. And I believe those principles or those actions should be practiced until they become first nature, not second. You don't have to think about it. It just becomes a part of who we are. And I can't reiterate how I was reading something earlier this morning on a slave story, and you all are please welcome to it's the family of the Steeles who were separated and ran off from the plantation, and their quest to come back and get their children. How many times they had to come back, get caught, come back. But the goal was still the same. Even though they were separate and apart, they were not satisfied.
Separate and apart.
Yeah, they were one
Yes.
spiritually. And that love that they had would never allow them to be separate and apart. And that's where it had to become first in their mind. Whether they were separated physically, they knew together mentally they would find each other. They spent their last breath, and I mean last breaths. That story was a love story that I could not even I couldn't even get emotional about because it was so breathtaking.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and as I said, you know, spiritual energy transfer is a process which partners engage to reach perfection. The spiritual communication is connection without the need for physicality, without the needs for a physical connection. But this is important too. Those who are in the space without love can create it through their spirit as a place for its creation. That is, if you are alone, physically and spiritually, you can create an accepting place, a place for that to occur. And when it's right, that spirit will come to you. I truly believe my spirit will reach out to you and we'll connect. And we don't know why. We're not looking for each other. But love will find a way, I heard somebody say.
Yes.
Now, Baba,
That's good.
you had spoke about collective consciousness earlier, right? And now you're speaking on spiritual energy transfer, right? So when we're talking about collective consciousness, and love, how do we correlate those together?
That's good.
Well, what is the predicate? What is the beginning? Is the beginning consciousness, or is the beginning love? Or do they come together? That once you reach a certain level of consciousness, you're ready for love.
Right.
We're ready. What's that song go? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're ready for love. I mean, we're ready because we are conscious and we know that we are of value. No matter what the oppressor says to us about our lifestyle, and they've written great treatises and articles and books saying that African people are of little value, and some of us have believed that, historically speaking. Today the ones who believe that are only the ones who have benefited from the oppression of black people because they get $1 for it every time they say something to oppress us. That's like when we were talking about this beta this and alpha that and that kind of stuff. But I think that love and consciousness are connected. And as the more conscious you are of who you are and whose you are, the more loving you become as part of that.
Absolutely.
Baba, I want to because I had ran across something as well on social media where they was talking about alpha males and beta males, and I laughed at it because to me, I know a lot of times, as brothers, African men, we have an inferiority complex. So we want to push out there that we're some type of alpha male and lion. But my first thought that came to my head was the way we being dominated by the Europeans. I don't want to hear that about African male. I mean, no, alpha males. If we don't want to stand up and fight for liberation, independence, and power and put protection on our communities.
Come on.
Because that's what the Lion Kings do. They make sure that they take care of the prize.
That's right.
And we are the Lion Kings. And so I don't be wanting to hear us bragging about we feel like we're alpha male or calling another brother a beta male. When how are you going to judge another brother?
That's right.
Let the sisters judge the brothers. Let the sisters, because what you might think is being beta, the sister might see as being alpha. As if that really matters. I think that the most important thing for us as African men, as black men, is to realize that we have a responsibility to stand up and show that divine love that Baba Atmos is talking about by putting protection on our women and our children.
Come on.
That's right. That's
Now,
right.
now he done drug a whole argument. Thank you, Brother Kevin, for saying that yes, the queens do have a interpretation. We are observant, and we notice what society has created versus what really is. Because no matter what society has created, we know what our heart longs for. And it is a perfect man. Now, that don't mean they don't make mistakes. But the basics of a man's, hopefully, goal, objective, and role and responsibility is to take care, like you said, to cover and protect the family unit, those that are most vulnerable in society. And if you're not in place, you can't protect, because first of all, a protector has to stand their ground. If we're still looking for you, if the law looking for you, you don't have no name. You done changed we don't even know your whole name is Lil Boo Boo and Ray Ray. You done gave yourself half of a name, and the children don't know you. And we all on Marvin's show trying to figure if you did. We have just a ball of dysfunction. Before we even, like you said, before we can even talk about love, we first have to define what it is that you're supposed to be doing to become somebody that's socially accepted in society. And yes, the queens recognize, and we want to say on the record, thank you for the brothers who protect and invest and stand with us in the fight to increase love in our community, and that comes in so many different ways. But you are honored, and we wouldn't trade anything for you. Made you increase who you are throughout the earth.
For the brothers out there, it's this book by Muwata Ashby called "The Journey from Jesus to Christ." I think we need to get back in there. I got to read it again too, because it's a book about growth, and we need to be
That's good.
we need to be trying to grow spiritually for sure. Baba Atmos, now your final, you got 8 chapters sequentially. I think they're the final chapters. You do have a conclusion or something after that, but they all starts with a P. I wonder, so I wonder, first of all, if it's any particular reason for it all to be starting with P's. If not, we're gonna try to just give us a little rundown. On each one. Start I think it's perfect love, problems and presence, prejudice and purgation, pessimism and perception, pride and praise, permissive and patience, possessive and protection, pseudo and perfect loving.
Okay. If I was trying to be on the Supreme Court, I would say thank you for that question, sir. I said I wasn't going to do that, didn't I? Can't help it. Since consciousness, everything was written to remember. We have 5 fingers and 5 toes, so the 5 P's. But why P? Perfection within the imperfect. So that was written, driven by the Spirit, that the P has to be the way. And as a former educator, it's easier to get people to look at something that has some similarity, and they don't have to go jump back and forth. And so I began with an understanding that the beginning of in loving is forgiveness. Well, I said that's an F word. I can't use that. So I found
the F word.
Purgation. Purgation, which means forgiveness, which means to forgive. And forgiveness begins with self-forgiveness.
Yes.
Because most of us, our lives, as we grow in wisdom, or age, whichever one you want to use.
Which ones come first, right?
which comes first. Right. We have had some experiences in our life.
That's true.
And so we had to learn not only to forgive ourselves, but other people that we come in contact with, because it always was that a mistake. That's a negative word. Was it a growth experience? Was it a learning experience? What did you learn, and what did they teach you?
Absolutely.
I've been taught a lot of stuff.
Right.
My folk leaving me, they're not necessarily happy with them leaving, but that's okay, And
it's a learning
I'm sure I've left some people in my life. I'd like to think so. Give me 1 or 2. I'm not just being left. I'm also leaving.
Right.
No. So forgiveness of self. Now let's get back to the serious part. The forgiveness of self is about understanding that in life there are transitions.
It's true.
You learn from your experience, and hopefully, whoever it is, we learn what we want and what we don't want. We learn what we can get and what we can't get. We learn what's fair and what's unfair. There are many things that we learn in a relationship. And instead of blaming someone, what we do is a particular examine, as they say in Catholicism. That is, we do a self-examination. We look at ourselves and say, okay, this is what happened. Okay, I forgive myself for making this error. I won't make it next time, I hope. And I won't let it occur in this relationship as I grow. That's why, I think in my life, I think that many times what we have to learn is that forgiveness is the key to everything.
That's right.
Not only forgiveness of self, but forgiveness of others. Now, I am not saying we need to forgive the oppressor before we get out of oppression.
Okay.
I'm merely saying that once we out, we can look back and say, okay, we forgive you. Keep stepping.
Right.
Keep moving. You had your whatever it is. So the opposite, or the reflective, or the, if purgation is ma'at, then isfit is prejudice. What is that? That's judging someone before you know them. That's making judgments about people, saying, "Oh, you walk that way, so you must be. Oh, you look that way, so you must be. Oh, you dress that way, so you must be. You must be a beta. You must be an alpha. Whatever the, I almost said a word. Whatever that means. Whatever that means. I mean, and why are we doing that to ourselves? Don't we have enough people out there who want to denigrate us, that we have to denigrate ourselves and go on and have Facebook and TikToks and whatever? Do you love black people? Don't. If you do, get off of that mess. Find something else to talk about. Don't you have anything? I started to say intelligent, but that's not fair. Do you have anything worthwhile to talk about?
Right.
Other than, relationships which you don't understand? Do you not understand that you can break someone's heart by leaving them based on something called a scale that somebody put up?
A false one at that.
A false scale. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so
That's good.
so that's prejudice. That's making judgments based on some things, that really may not be appropriate for the relationship. Okay, that's pessimism and perception. To be pessimistic in a relationship is to judge things and say, okay, this won't work out. That, you're looking for the worst in the relationship. This won't work out if we move together here. This won't work out if we get together here. This won't work out if we travel together here. This won't work out if we buy this kind of car. I mean, I'm just using some concrete examples. So to be pessimistic is to look for the worst, rather than understanding perception. What really is happening in this relationship? What is going on? Do we see the reality? Have we differentiated, Brother Ausar, the real from the unreal? And we're really in trouble with that now. There are a lot of young folks, I'm diverge for a moment. There are a lot of young folks forming relationships online. And with AI, you don't know what you get.
Yeah.
You gonna
It's
end.
true.
I'm not gonna talk about what you're gonna end up with, but I want you to know that there are hallucinations online.
Yes.
And that they can imitate voices and pictures and information, and you don't know. As when I was growing up many, many years ago, is it real or is it Memorex?
That was an old commercial.
Yeah. So that's what's happening. I mean, and if that's your way, that's fine. But I want to know, how do you understand what you're getting in terms of perception?
That's good.
Is it a true perception or is it false? Is your relationship, do you really understand? One of the things I think that people ought to do in relationships, and you can use it or not, is to ask questions and write down the answers.
Right.
And learn to ask questions about things that matter to you. Because everything doesn't matter to everyone. So what matters in your relationship? What's deal breakers, if such a thing exists? Well, the only deal breaker I have is if you show up without permission. No, that's not a deal breaker. but I know people who can't even go visit their relatives without permission. What is going on in this world? What happened to you black people that you don't understand that family means I'm going to show up and you're going to make a way out of no way?
That's true.
At least for those of my generation.
Yes.
So in relationships, what are your deal breakers? What are the things that you're looking for? What do you want in the relationship?
Now, let me ask you this, Baba, as you talk about the credentials of loving. With the young people, I would say, before I even say young people, because I see some old people too, sad to say, who are on Facebook and just in the social life, so thirsty to be loved. Should there be a period of learning oneself, like you said, to know thyself, else they won't entrap themselves in so many different toxic relationships because they're so thirsty? I think I'm asking, is it healthy to to just be alone for a season, to love and know who you are first before you run out and pick up flies along with lies and some in pillars of trouble that they didn't bargain for.
Yeah, not all. I agree implicitly with your question that one should be self-aware before one gets into a situation where they lose their very essence in that relationship. How do you determine whether the readiness for a relationship, and if you're ready to deal with loss, if you're ready to deal with success, how do you determine that? How do you determine whether or not just being alone isn't the worst thing? We used to say in the old days, I can do bad by myself.
Yes,
You
yes,
know?
yes.
So, I mean, I would think.
That's all
I would-
over right
yeah,
there.
That's
yeah,
old
it
cut,
ain't
right,
that
brother
old now,
King?
brother. Come on.
Enough.
So the question is, what are you willing to sacrifice in order not to be lonely? Or what are you willing to accomplish in order to be successful? You can choose either one of those paths. But if you know yourself, you know what you're willing to do. Some people are willing to give all they have and expect nothing in return.
Sure.
And that's what they get. If you don't expect anything, you don't get anything.
That's true.
They say, what do you want out of this relationship? I just want them to show up once a week. Okay. Don't get mad when they show up once every other week.
Right.
I'm just saying that. I mean, that's an extreme example.
No.
But what I am saying is, at the point that you're ready for a relationship, your spirit will sing. And go ahead, man.
Yeah. I just wanted to, well, you finish your point first, and then I come back to my question.
Just one sentence. And if your spirit doesn't sing, put on some music and listen to that.
That's right, Bob.
You have to trust yourself. That's it.
And I'm glad that music is very important. But what I wanted to get to, Baba, was when you went to the P's, the first one you went to was purgation, forgiveness. And I think that's important because when we talk about the 10 virtues of the initiate or the 10 virtues of perfect loving, number 7 is freedom from resentment under the act of persecution.
That's right.
And number 8 is freedom from resentment under the experience of being wrong. And in both instances, it takes forgiveness.
That's right.
It takes purgation. And like you stated, first person you forgive is yourself, right? Because once you're able to forgive yourself, you're able to forgive others, and that way things don't sit within you and fester and eat you up, which happens when we have resentment towards people, or if we have any type of resentment whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. I mean, even toward the Creator,
Right.
I've had anger, not understanding, say it's your fault because that's that other misinformation they teach, that the Creator is responsible for everything,
that's
fixing
true.
everything and breaking everything. So
That's
no,
true.
I agree with that. So I'm going to run on and get to pride and praise. Prideful loving. I love you because you fit an image. You are my trophy. I have pride in you. And as long as you look a certain way, I'll keep you. And then this is brothers mainly, but sisters I guess can do it too. But I can't speak to that. That.
They do it too.
They do.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sister
Bang.
has spoken. So
The brothers pay attention because the sisters are paying attention.
That's right.
yeah. So that pride will interfere with your move toward perfection. Remember, these are the P's to help you work toward perfection. So
Yes.
the obverse of pride is praise. Find something good to say about somebody every day. When you see them, regardless of what it is, you showed up on time. Your eye makeup sure looks good. Or, I like the way you cut your hair. Or you sure walk nice today. Find something. You can find something to praise each and every day about somebody significant in your life. You can find something to praise about your children each and every day, even though they tore up your house. You can find. I'm just throwing that in as a throwaway. But praise builds that relationship. It builds a chemical reaction, but it also builds a spiritual reaction. Permissive versus patient. Permissive loving is seen as allowing someone to do whatever they wish to. Oh, we gotta go.
Continue that.
Okay,
point at
okay.
least.
Well, we don't have time,
We
but
do have to go though.
huh?
Nah, finish.
Okay, so permissive versus patience. Permissive is saying you can do anything you want and it's all right with me. You know that's how I prove I love you. And you see permissive parents with children, and patience means being willing to wait for love. Possessive loving means I own you and you own me. And protection means I stand in the gap for you.
Okay.
So those are the 5 P's. And pseudo and perfect.
Right.
Pseudo is more of the negative, and perfection is more of the positive. Yeah. And before you go, I'd like to just say one thing, since I don't have much time. I don't have any time, actually. Anna Julia Cooper is one of the people whose saying is in your passport, if you have one. And I hope you will at least read it. Anna Julia Cooper out of North Carolina.
That's
She
right.
said there are 2 kinds of peace in the world. The one produced by suppression, which is the passivity of death. The other brought about by proper adjustment of living, acting forces. That's Anna Julia Cooper for you.
And her gravesite is right there on Hargett Street.
Okay. And she also attended the first Pan-African meeting.
She did. She was at the
Yes.
first Pan-African
Right.
Congress. That's exactly right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we ran a little bit above time. I don't think we should get penalized too bad, being that we're usually pretty accurate. But I'd like to send a thanks out to Brother Ausar and Dr. Kim, and a special
Thank you,
thanks.
brother.
Yes, thank
Special
you, Brother
thanks to
Escents.
Grandmaster teacher. What you said? Triple Grandmaster
Triple
teacher.
grandmaster.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Baba Utmost. Remember, proper education always corrects error. Peace.
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 Thank you. Oh.